Our planet is in crisis. If we don't act now, the world we love will diminish rapidly. Animals are being affected more than anything else. Their populations, habitats, and safety are all under threat due to global warming. One way we can help is by reintroducing animals into habitable locations so they can thrive as a species once more. In this episode, we find out about one of the UK's most beautiful birds, and perhaps the most successful rewilding scheme in British history. This is Rewilding, the Welsh red kites.
It's the national bird of Wales, really, I would say. It's like our favourite thing, and there was very, very few of them a number of years ago, almost to extinction.
I think red kites are just something that everybody thinks are amazing. I mean, they're beautiful to start with. They're really different to some of the other species.
When I fed the kites and the hides have been full, to hear that intake of breath of everybody when they've seen the kites coming down is something else.
I would say the population of the UK is probably centred from here, which is an amazing thing to have. There are other feeding sites around Wales as well, which I have been to as well, and they're very, very good. But this always seems to have the most.
We've been open about 30 years now, and we first had two smaller hides, 1 and 2. They're 12 feet long, and we didn't have much money, so the local council built them for us. The farm was a beef and sheep farm before it became the red kite feeding station. We had a dog with rabbits. We could catch rabbits. We'd lay them out there to keep the ravens away from the lambs. And we came out from lunch one day and 2 kites were dipping down on the rabbit. So we were very excited. After lambing, we continued with getting meat from the local butcher to put out for these birds, because they came every day. And then we had a call from the RSPB. We thought we were in trouble. They came for their meeting and asked us to become the official red kite feeding station. So that was the beginning of this.
I decided to work with birds of prey after I met my husband. He had a couple of birds and it's quite addictive. So once you spend a bit of time with them, you realise they've got characters and personalities of their own. You can't really help but want to be around them more. By being able to give people an opportunity to come and interact with red kites, to see them this close up, to be able to listen to what is really their mentality. Hopefully will allow people to understand them a little bit better. They're not at the point now where they're in ridiculous numbers. We do want to protect them for the future. We just want people to realise that they don't actually need our support anymore. And so maybe feeding stations probably give people the wrong impression, even though at the beginning they were such a huge part of what has made these a sustainable species. Rewilding of red kites is the longest conservation success story in British history. It's absolutely an incredible thing for people to aspire to. And there's a lot of rewilding projects that are in the pipeline at the moment. This is the one that will always be hailed as the way to do things. You need a good environment to start with to be able to rewild certain species, but I think with things like beavers, rewilding has been absolutely phenomenal. It's shown to really improve the environment, which has then made the environment perfect for other species as well. Nature isn't daft, it puts species where they're supposed to be. When we interfere, we create imbalances. So by rewilding, putting everything back the way nature intended, then in theory we should find ourselves with the perfect ecosystem.
One thing that we can guarantee here is the birds. We can't guarantee that they will land, but we can guarantee that you've got 300-400. So I get to drive the tractor, which is great. The birds are not resident here. This is not their prime feeding area. They will still go off and go elsewhere and come back because it's a rolling population of kites. Their main source of food is worms and bugs and snails. If you see a farm being ploughed and it's a kite area, they will be following the plough. We normally use, it's mainly offal and some beef fat that we cut up into chunks big enough for them to see and to grab, because what you don't want them to do is to be injured. You don't want them to get hurt, so if the pieces are bigger, they can see them easily when they're coming in.
We actually take out about 60 to 80 kilos of beef a day, and that's spread over the field to give them plenty of space.
They don't fledge for about 6 or 7 weeks, so it's a long time that one of the parents is on the nest, and there's one on the nest all the time.
All of the food that comes to us is already dead, it's frozen, and then we defrost it overnight, and then we work out based on how much Saffron weighed yesterday versus today. We can work out that she needs a certain amount of food that's going to keep her body weight level, and then we tend to just cut it up into pieces, put it into a pot, and then the birds get fed. So I suppose I can tell you a little bit about red kites. She's got yellow eyes now, she's about 5 years old. She would have blue eyes when she was a baby. The white head that you can see, she gets at about 3 years old, and the colour is getting much more distinctive as she gets older. The one thing that I found most interesting about them is, as babies, they play dead. So when Saffron first arrived, when she was young, she used to pretend that she was dead. And then when you weren't looking, she'd get up and start running around again with her siblings.
In the Middle Ages, they used to steal underwear off lines to line their nests.
They're not very good on the ground. They're a bit like penguins. They have very sort of fairly short feet. So if they do land on the ground, they'll stay in a small area. They know, they've got wristwatches. They seem to know when it's the right time to come in. Sometimes it's you see nothing till you hear the tractor, and then they just appear. And then they'll be here now till it gets dark, really.
In the UK, red kites are at a stage now where they are self-sustainable, thanks to the fantastic work of the RSPB over 30 years ago. Due to the Rewilding programme, this beautiful bird of prey will continue to populate and flourish for many years to come.